Okay, so you want?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ryan, thank you for coming on a breath of fresh football, part 2 of episode 1. So you're a big Ohio State fan. So what was your thoughts on the championship game on Monday?
So obviously, kind of sucks. We didn't win. Bama's a really good team. Definitely thought we had a chance at it. Was not expecting the performance that I saw, nor was I expecting to get shellacked the way we did. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. You don't realize how good that Bama team is until you watch them in person, and you realize that they're really that much better than everyone else was this year. So, I mean, it is what it is. It sucks that we didn't win it, but hey, there's always next year. We finally beat Clemson, so 2021 looking bright. Hopefully, best of luck to all those Bama guys. I mean, the three-headed horse for the Heisman was ridiculous. Trying to stop those guys, I mean, it's just insane. I mean, my thought was if we could shut down Najee, I was okay with giving up some yardage to Devonta Smith, but I mean, Najee's knocking out yardage, Devonta Smith's knocking out yardage. You're sending in motion, trying to get Devonta open, and I mean, like I said, it is what it is. We lost. Yeah, it sucks, but hey, that Bama team was probably one of the best teams I've watched in a long, long time.
Okay, so after you saying that, so how do you think it compares to last year's LSU
I think
team?
this team was better than last year's LSU team. Honestly, God, I mean, Mac Jones at quarterback is very comparable to Joe Burrow. I'd say Joe Burrow is a better overall quarterback, but definitely Najee Harris is the better running back between him and Edwards-Helaire. And I'd say that Devonta Smith's the better wide receiver over Jefferson. And as a whole, I mean, that Bama team, offensively and defensively, I think would have beaten that LSU team from last year.
Yeah, I would probably say that Bama team's probably, even depth-wise, is probably even better than LSU, because we saw this year how LSU, fell off after, they lost pretty much their whole
I'd say
team.
that Bama team was very, very comparable to the 05 USC team with Reggie Bush and Leonard.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm not really too familiar with the team other than I know Reggie Bush was with that team, and Matt Liner, of course. So, all right. So, what do you think was the turning point in the game?
Well, I mean,
It was that big
everyone's
play.
going to say
What?
it's COVID, but you can't make that as an excuse. I think the big turning point is simply, it's 14-14 towards the end of the first quarter. I had some good feelings about the game, and I think the turning point simply was not being able to convert on offense, and then the defense not making stops. I mean, yeah, we made that one stop at the end of the first half, but it was too little too late at that point. I mean, I knew heading into the game, you had to keep up with Bama offensively. We needed to keep up, go toe for toe with them, and then make a couple stops on defense, and that just never happened. So, I mean, losing Trey Sermon early on really hurt, changed the game plan a little bit, but I mean, again, not an excuse. You got all those athletes, you got to prepare for it. So it is what it is. I mean, Togiai being out hurt, Smith being out hurt, but again, that's why you're Ohio State. You got the athletes to do it. Let's go out and show it. But we just weren't there this year.
Yeah. So, what are the ramifications of this loss? Do you think it's going to affect Ohio State? Do you think there will be some players that end up coming back, after a performance like that?
I would say that you're still going to see Fields leave. Obviously, Sermon's gone because he's a grad transfer. Master Teague should be back and healthy next year. We're going to have the entire wide receiver core. I mean, we're going to lose Olave to the NFL, but I mean, we got Ibuka coming in next year. We got a couple other receivers coming in. We got Jamison Williams that came off the bench. I mean, you saw a couple receptions that he had there in the title game this year. We got Fleming that we hardly used this year that we can look forward to next year. So, I mean, future looks bright for us.
That's good. Yeah. So I was listening to I listened to a lot of podcasts, but I was listening to a college football one, and they were talking about next year Ohio State, and they truly believe that next year's team is going to be better than this year's team. I mean, they are losing players, but they think that the players that are coming in are gonna, make the team better. So, hopefully you got something to look forward to next year. So, like you said, oh, a video started playing. So, like you said with COVID, so how did you feel about Ohio State's season as a whole? I know Justin Fields wasn't the best this year, but what did you think of the season as a
I
whole?
mean, obviously not playing as many games as Bama, as Clemson, as LSU, and all them guys, it hurt us. Not gonna lie. I mean, you've seen it before. The more games you play, the more you can work on, the more you can get experience for those younger guys. I think playing only 7 games kind of hurt us. Yeah, the Big Ten had this great plan of playing 8 games and with a championship weekend of week 9 and hoping to get all those games in, but just wasn't possible this year with everything that's going on. I mean, there's so many unknowns that you don't plan for, you don't anticipate happening, and of course they come up week after week. Some are your fault, some are not your fault. I mean, it was an unprecedented year. It is what it is, I guess. I mean,
Yeah. So yeah, it was an interesting year, and a lot of people said Ohio State probably didn't deserve to be in it. Do you believe that, or do you still believe that you guys deserve to be
I
in the
mean, beating
playoffs?
Clemson right there showed that we deserved to be in the playoffs. I'm not saying that another team couldn't have done what we did to Clemson, but dominating Clemson how we did that entire game showed that we deserved to be there. Do I think that there was other teams that could have been deserving? Maybe, but at the end of the day, it's a three-headed monster right now. And for years forward, you got Bama, you got Clemson, you got Ohio State. Next year, it's going to be a toss-up between Oklahoma and Notre Dame. You can maybe throw Iowa State in there, maybe. But I mean, who else are you going to throw in there for next year? And even the year after that. It's a three-headed monster right now. Bama, Clemson, Ohio State.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and it's I like that you threw Iowa State into the conversation because they I did see the Heisman list predicting next year, and I think the running back for them is like at 4 right now or something. So that, and you have Brock,
Yep,
was it
Brock Purdy.
Purdy coming back. So I think and then you got, was it Matt
Yep,
Campbell there as
Campbell's
the head
still
coach?
staying, the old Toledo coach.
Yep. So I think that would be a team that will probably go up against Oklahoma, like you said. Spencer Rattler's got another year. You know, he's I don't know what he'll do after next year, but I'm sure with the way he is, he's probably going to be looking to go pro. So he's got something to prove to everyone in the NFL that he can be an NFL quarterback. So we'll see, and he's got some competition coming in. The number one recruit, QB recruit of Caleb Williams. I
I
think,
think
is it
Williams
Williams?
or Williamson, one of the
Uh,
two.
yeah, so he's coming in. So he's got some competition that will probably make him better. But so speaking of Justin Fields' season, he didn't have the best, and you still believe he'll go. But do you think he should go? Is he ready for the NFL?
I mean, I don't foresee any reason why he shouldn't go. He's a predicted first-round draft pick. Yeah, he didn't have the greatest of years, but then you see the signs of greatness that he showed against Clemson. Just kind of depends. He's a young kid. I mean, he's only a redshirt sophomore. Then at the same time, he's only lost 2 games in his Ohio State career. You can't fault the guy for what he did. It's a team game. Yeah, Justin Fields is probably the best athlete Ohio State had this year, but at the same time, we didn't play complete games. So is it Justin Fields' fault? No. Is it the coaching's fault? No. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, things happen for a reason that we may never know, and at the same time, things don't happen for a reason. So I definitely think that Fields is ready. I mean, I got a couple people locally that aren't even Ohio State fans that said Fields is one of the better balls thrown that they've seen in years. So I mean, I think developmentally he's ready. I think it's going to take a little bit. He could be a scheme quarterback. He could be a great fit for any quarter or for any team. You just don't know because these kids are so young and it's just such an unprecedented year. And I think at the end of the day, that's kind of what hurt Fields is not playing all those games consistently and not having the reps. I mean, again, he only played, 8 games, 9 games? So it definitely hurt him. I'm not going to say it didn't. But, I mean, kid's a great athlete, and I think he'll succeed in the NFL if he goes to the right place.
I know you're big into mock drafts. So where would it be his ideal fit for the teams that need QBs? Where would you like to see him go?
Well, I mean, everyone's going to want him to go to Jacksonville with Urban. And I'm sorry, if Jacksonville doesn't draft Trevor Lawrence, they're just plain dumb. That is a generational quarterback right there. So,
Yeah, I
knock that
agree.
out of the question right there. Urban Meyer and Justin Fields is not happening. I would say you're looking at about 10 to 15th overall for Fields, probably, unless some teams make some trades here and there. It's going to be a toss up at the number 2 spot. Just kind of depends on the combine this year, whether that happens or not. Are you going to go off of game film, or are you going to go off the combine stats, or are you going to go off a combination of both? I think Fields' best fit would probably be, maybe the Detroit Lions or maybe a Denver Broncos.
Oh, yeah. Detroit Lions, I think that would be a good fit. I don't know who they would trade
Oh, the
Stafford to,
Colts.
but Denver Broncos, I think that would be a good fit too. Got wide receivers there, and Sutton and Jerry, and then you got Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay still there. So I think that would be good. I'm a Drew Lock believer, but so it'd be hard to see for him. But yeah, that would be a good fit. I'm also curious. Oh, my pup. So I'm also curious. So you said 10 to 15. So you think Justin Fields will drop that
I'm not
much?
saying that he's going to drop that much. I think it's going to depend on a lot of positional needs for those teams that are higher up on that draft board. I mean, the NFL season ended kind of chaotically. I mean, hell, the Cowboys were still in playoff consideration until the last week. So I just can't foresee him going number 2 overall like people had early on. You don't know what the Jets are going to do with a number 2 overall pick, though, either. So, I mean, is it something that they go quarterback? Do they trade that pick to someone else? Or do they just go a positional need? Just, it all kind of depends, and it's going to be one of those, once one domino falls, the next is going to fall. I mean, Zach Wilson brought himself into great consideration with some of the games he had this year. You got Mac Jones with a heck of a year that he had, and you got Trey Lance from North Dakota State. Not saying Trey Lance deserves to be in the first round, but all NFL analysts have him up there, so it just kind of depends on how people value him.
Yeah, and plus someone you didn't mention was Kyle Trask, which he'll probably end up dropping to the second round. But just there is a lot of QBs, and it just depends on how teams view them. There's always that one QB that just shoots up the board, like Daniel Jones, and I'm trying to think of some other
Trubisky went up there
surprises.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Mitch. I personally thought Watson should have been the first QB off the board, and he ended up being the third
Well,
QB. So
Mahomes
what do I
went
know?
overall to Kansas City that year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, didn't Kansas
Yeah,
City
they
trade up
traded up
too?
because Mahomes is
And
still
so
there.
did. Yep, and then the Texans also traded up because they traded up in front of my Cardinals. Because I was like, if Watson is there, you got to take him. And then the next year we took a QB and Josh Rosen, and now we have Kyler Murray.
Great that I worked out.
So okay, so kind of a little bit Ohio State related, but what's your thoughts on Michigan extending Harbaugh?
So everyone can make a big joke about it all you want, but at the end of the day, Harbaugh is doing a great job of graduating kids. I mean, you got to think of it from this standpoint. Is he winning against the rivals? No, absolutely not. Did he make Michigan relevant again? Yes, he did. Michigan had a great season last year. This past season, or I should say this past season, this year, I mean, yeah, was very, very disappointing for that fan base. But Harbaugh's graduating kids at a record rate. He's giving them the college experience. He took kids over to Rome, so they're getting more than just the football atmosphere. They're getting the real world lifestyles. They're learning abroad. They're doing this. They're doing that. I mean, Coaching wise, do I think it's a great hire or a great extension? Not necessarily, but at the end of the day, he's graduating these kids, these student athletes, and he's at least giving them lifelong experiences and stuff to remember. So, I mean, kind of look at it from two standpoints. You look at it from the coaching standpoint, which we all want to look at, and you got to look at it from the student athlete standpoint. I mean, these kids are coming to Michigan. He's giving them a reason to be there, and he's getting them excited to be there. So, I mean, it's very well possible that he could be on next year. The whole extension dealt with his buyout. His buyout is extremely low, so if he sucks next year, very well could be gone. Just again, one of those things. Year after year, just kind of determines on how you're gonna go about your life, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with what you were saying. I know, with how bad of a season Ohio or Michigan had, and every year how they fall to Ohio State or they end up losing early to Penn State or some unranked Big Ten team. I do think I did like your point saying he is the reason Michigan football is relevant right now. And I know a lot of people. I know I saw a lot of people earlier saying, Michigan should fire Harbaugh and all that, but I was always just against it because whoever they bring in, I don't think it's gonna do any better. I kind of felt the same way about Lovey at Illinois. Although, like I did, some people were getting the vibe that like he didn't really care that he was there, and at least with the new coach they got the
Bielema.
Brett. Yeah, he actually wants to be here. He wants, he's from Illinois. He wants to be here. He wants to recruit Illinois recruits, which that's some Lovey and his staff really did not do. He was letting everyone go. Our 5-star QB that was here before he, transferred because Illinois isn't playing high school sports right now. JJ McCaffrey is a Michigan recruit, and then we got a 3-star Tyler Macon from East St. Louis that's going to Mizzou. So we have all these good players that are going to all these other states and other universities. So like his big goal is he wants to hit Illinois recruiting really hard and bring them to Illinois, of course, to play for their home state, and he wants to turn around
Yeah.
Illinois football. So it's an exciting time for Illinois football. So you covered it a little bit, but how do you feel the outlook of the Ohio State program
So I
is
mean,
going forward?
obviously we have another number one commit coming in, depending on how you look at it, and Jack Sawyer. It's going to really help boost the defense there. You got Quinn Ewers coming in 2022. He'll be QB1 his freshman year. I can almost promise you that. Oh yeah,
Oh, really?
that kid's the next Trevor Lawrence. I think if he lives up to everything that I've been watching and what people have been saying about him, yeah, that you'll see another Trevor Lawrence here in a couple of years. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Trevor, but I mean, ESPN's got him ranked as a 1.000 recruit, and that's the highest recruit Ohio State's ever had if he stays at that 1.00 ranking. And then you got
Yeah.
obviously the wide receiver core is reloading. The defense, yeah, it was down this year, but I mean, we got those defensive guys coming in. Definitely be interesting to see next year who starts at running back. You got Master Teague, but you also got Henderson that's coming in as a recruit. You got can't think of his name. Can't think of his name right now. You got Teague will be there. You got Henderson coming in. Oh,
Is it
you
Marcus
got Meatball.
Crowley?
Meatball's still there. Yeah, he was in the title game. And then you just mentioned another one, Crowley. So it'll be interesting to see who starts at running back next year. If we do a dual back system or if we stick with one of the guys that was here this year. I mean, I think next year you're going to see a QB battle here in the spring between Jack Miller and CJ Stroud. And I think CJ Stroud's going to be starting quarterback next year.
Yeah. So yeah, that was going on to my next question was who you thought would be starting at QB. But I'm just curious. So I'm big into QBs. Who's all there at Ohio
So,
State's program
so
right
we
now
got
at
Jack
QB?
Miller and CJ Stroud right now. Gunnar Hoke was there this year. Obviously, Gunner's going to be graduating. unless he accepts that NCAA blanket waiver, which I don't think he will. So you got Miller and Stroud. We got Kyle McCord coming in. He's a 5-star recruit, depending on which ranking you look at.
Yeah.
So there's those three. It's very possible that Ohio State picks up another transfer, and I'm sure there's guys on the roster that I'm not thinking of out the top of my head that redshirted this year. So I'd say there's probably 5 or 6 quarterbacks at Ohio State with 2 to 3 easily competing for that starting job next year. I mean, I left McCord out in that QB battle, but it's entirely possible his name comes up this year, and we see him starting. But my guess would be Stroud would be the starting quarterback next year.
Yeah, so those were the people I was thinking. I was thinking of CJ, and then Kyle I knew was coming in. But don't they even have another pretty five? Don't they have another good QB coming in after for the
Yeah,
next
that's
recruiting
Quinn
class?
Ewers. He's a 2022 quarterback class.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we got a couple of years for
yeah,
Ewers
so
there.
so it sounds like you got it sounds like you have a bright future and everything. So maybe hopefully they'll continue to make the playoffs. But so here's one last question. Obviously like the playoff games were kind of blowouts this year. Do you think they should consider expanding the playoffs or leave it as it is now?
So I go back and forth on this, but I kind of got to agree with my buddy and my roommate from college here. And I think until proven otherwise, you got to keep it at 4. There's this year, you maybe could have made the exception for it with a Cincinnati and the A&M and Florida debate going to 8, maybe. But at the end of the day, that Bama team would have walked away with it. So why bother expanding it when you got teams like that dominating still? I mean, I still think you got to keep it at 4. Yeah, it may leave out one of your conferences, but start playing meaningful games. Quit playing these FCS schools. Quit playing these late season, basically bye weeks that the SEC is doing. Everyone's got to go to 9 conference games. Win your conference, prove it. I think if you're going to go to 8 teams, that if you're going to do that, you got to take into the consideration of what are you going to do with that group of 5? Do you let them in with 1 loss? Do they have to be an undefeated team? Or do you just go about it of, hey, they won. They're the best ranked team. They're in. There's a lot of debates you got there. I think it's more headache than it's worth. On top of that, the current agreement runs through 2025, I think. And that one only has 4 teams in it for that agreement. So, I mean, you can look at it both ways. Do I think that some of these teams have deserved a chance, like Cincinnati and UCF? Sure. Especially if they're undefeated. Yeah, I get it. But if you're not playing those meaningful games and you're beating teams that are way low on the totem pole, are you really that good of a team? Yeah, your record may show that you're 11-0, but are you that good of a team if you're beating up on the scrubs? I don't know. I mean, these kids all bust their butts and work hard. Yeah, it'd be nice to be rewarded, but at the same time, can you really beat the Ohio States, the Clemsons, the Bamas, the Floridas, the A&Ms? I don't know. I don't see it. I don't.
Yeah. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I'll throw this idea at you. So I listen to Strong Opinion Sports, and he runs a really good podcast. He does it like as his job, but he threw out a scenario. Instead of expanding the playoffs, what if we created a group of 5 playoff? And the teams could opt out if they made it into the college football playoffs. But what if they had a group of 5 playoffs where you would have BYU, you could have Boise State, or whoever's good that year. Like this year it was Liberty and Coastal Carolina, where they can play each other and play for a national championship. So what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's basically what the FCS is the football championship series. So now you're considering breaking the NCAA D1 into 3 divisions. I don't see the reason of doing that. I mean, if you want to play for national titles, okay, maybe. But at the end of the day, the CFP is still going to bring you the money. Get into the CFP, you're going to get the money to get those recruits. to fund your programs. Yeah, it'd be great to play for championships for those kids, but you're not the best of the best if you're not winning the CFP title. I don't know. I mean, I think there's flaws to every system. There's no good way of doing it. I mean, March Madness has the best way. I mean, but that's 68 teams. You can't really do that with football. I mean, my buddy, if my buddies listen to
Yeah.
this podcast, they're probably going to hound me because I kind of contradicted myself by saying that. But at the same time, you got to prove it that you're the best of the best. And like I said earlier, if you're beating up on the BGSUs, the Toledos, the New Mexico States as a 11-0 team, well, what's that say about a team like Oregon, who went out and beat USC, BYU, UCLA? I mean, there's two sides to every stone, so could be a positive thing, could be a negative thing. You don't really know. I mean, it's a theory that until proven otherwise is just a theory.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is. You have any last thoughts of anything you want to share regarding Ohio State or the championship
I,
game?
I don't think there's much else to say. I mean, Bama came out and showed us that they were the team to beat this year, and we didn't do it. So, other than that, I just gotta say, go Bucks, and hopefully next year our year.
Wait. One last question before you go. Any predictions
I
for
mean,
next year? What do you think record wise Ohio
well,
State
let me
will
look
be?
at the schedule here real quick. I'm pretty sure we got Oregon coming
Like,
up next year. We were supposed to play them this year, but then COVID happened. So
yeah.
conference, we got Big Ten, Ohio State, 2021 schedule. So we start out with Minnesota on a Thursday. Then we play Oregon at home, Tulsa, Akron. So 3-1, 4-0 start. I would say 4-0 start there. Nebraska, Purdue, Rutgers, Michigan State. You're looking at about an 11-1, 12-0 team. Just depends on which Penn
Think
State
it,
team shows up next year.
you think Penn State will turn it around after their
I mean,
awful year this year?
Franklin proved me wrong with that hire. He made that program into another recognizable team. I, you got to hope for the Big Ten's sake that they're relevant next year, because it was kind of embarrassing this year just watching some of those games that I watched. So, I mean, obviously, a
Yeah.
Buckeyes fan, true and true. I'm going to say 12-0, but very well could be an 11-1 season next year. But yeah, I'd say you're going to see Ohio State 12-0 and in the playoffs again next year.
All right. Well, that is all I have for today. So thank you for coming on, and you're welcome to come back on anytime that you have anything you want to talk about, regarding either Ohio State or even the Cowboys. If you would like to come on and talk about Cowboys football,
I'm
we'd
not sure I
love
want
to
to talk
have
about the
you.
Cowboys
So,
football right about now. Okay.
well, as you're on, speaking, you're a Cowboys fan. So, did you see that the Eagles won? Obviously, I'm a Boise State fan. So, how do you feel about the Eagles wanting to
I
interview
mean, you
Kellen
can
Moore?
request to interview anyone you want. It's a matter of the organization letting that happen, and the matter of that person actually wanting to interview. I think it's great that Kellen Moore is getting these offers, but I don't think he's ready. I think it would have been a better gig for him to go to Boise State, try the college out, see how he goes as a head coach. But he didn't take the Boise State offer, so I mean, he's the OC for the next couple of years at Dallas until otherwise. I mean, Philadelphia can make a run at him, but I don't see him leaving, and I don't see them offering him the head coaching job.
Yeah. Well, like I said, and
All
I'll
right,
talk to
appreciate
you
it, Kyle.
soon.
Later.
Bye.